Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to BLOOMBOX. This is our second BLOOMBOX. We're at the Artist and Entrepreneur Center in downtown Shreveport. I don't think we mentioned that last time, but that's where our public studio spaces are.
Yes.
I'm Leanne.
I'm Kalandra.
And today our topic is It's by Grace, Not by Force. And I can't remember where I heard this, actually, because I tried to look it up, and I couldn't find it. So, maybe I made it up.
Maybe so.
I'm not sure. But I've been thinking about the topic a lot, and I feel like there's different words you could put to it, not just the grace, not by grace, not by force, or it's by grace, not by force.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like it's... to lead by example instead of trying to force somebody into your way of seeing things or doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Love being stronger than hate.
Yeah.
Compassion versus conflict. I actually took an online class called Love as a Force for Social Justice. Yeah, it kind of revolved around that idea in a way. It involved a lot of enforcing change through empathy versus, I guess, the opposite, right? Like forcing people to do things a certain way. So being
in a
able
selfish way, like this is the way I think it should be done. So this is the way everyone should be doing it. Yes.
So it was more of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes in order to help them or affect change.
Right.
Showing compassion to let somebody know that you're on their side instead of against them.
Right.
Those are some of the things that come to mind. But also, for me, a lot of it is just the simple fact of we can't make people into into what we think they should be.
Yeah. And truly accepting people for who they are, as opposed to going into conversations, partnerships, or even just the spaces that we inhabit and share together every day with the mindset of, I can possibly change this person, or this person should be doing something this way, when in reality we just need to accept folks for the way that they are.
Yeah. And that includes ourselves. Having almost like it's easier to have grace and compassion for other people than it is to have grace and compassion for ourselves. And I mean, I'm completely talking about myself, because I'll be very hard on myself for lots of different things. A lot of empaths like me tend to have people-pleasing tendencies, and just also, in fact, in the way of trying to meet somebody where they are, if we never know what another person's going through, so to always sort of keep that in mind when you're out in the world and talking to people. It's really hard, especially if you're having a bad day, because I kind of wish other people would think that way. Some days when I'm having a hard time and they decide that's the day they're going to joke with me and they don't even know me, and I'm like, today's not the day.
Yeah.
But I have enough grace sometimes to realize that that's what's happening.
I found it.
This
topic for me in particular was a little bit difficult to consume because for most of my time, I've been given, the word grace has been used in a way that's more so like a privilege, or like something that you are given, not something that you inherently have, or something that you can fully embody. So I found it a little difficult to really consume this topic. And the more I think about it, and the more research that we do and have done, the more I've kind of realized that I'm always saying I can be friendly without being everybody's friend,
Mm.
I think that's just the way that I kind of walk through it. And also just by the way of, as far as like being graceful, like within, I find that not only me, but like just some people that I know tend to just have, you know, that way about themselves where people are like, that person is a nice person, or that's a person that I want to be around.
Sure.
Because there's no judgment. Like, there's no judgment of person. There's no judgment of you should do things this way or otherwise unless asked.
Right. I know, well, speaking for myself, I know that having grace is not always an easy thing to do, and it actually takes a lot of courage and strength to do it sometimes, depending on what the situation is.
Yeah. Even like day to day. It doesn't have to be like a monumental thing, like just choosing to be that way every day takes, and not saying like you have to like nail it every time, just like choosing to be that, consciously choosing, and even in the bigger, you know, moments where it's like, okay, I need to make a conscious decision right now to go into this future event or future what am I trying to say? Like a
situation?
Situation, yes, with grace.
Oh, hold on one second. We are having a weird technical difficulty. What just happened? Shit. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. My computer freaked out on me for a second. Yes. So I got a little distracted. You said something too about meeting people where they are and not like enforcing your way on them.
Yeah.
And I find that I have enough, and maybe it's just my age too, but it's like, and maybe this is a form of grace that I'm finally learning, but it's like I try to step away from my brain and what it wants to do in that moment, and I try to read the other person's energy enough to know what is an appropriate thing for me to say in this moment.
Yeah.
For their mental state.
Yeah.
I don't think I've always, but I noticed myself doing this the other day, and I was actually kind of fascinated by it, because in the past I would just, and I think women do this a lot too, when you have conversations with each other, you get kind of excited and you just keep talking. You know, and you don't necessarily listen to what the other person is saying, or like completely absorb it. Completely absorb it.
You need words. Give me more words.
Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say. Words are really important. But to finish what I was saying before, so I just think that was kind of interesting, and it's I guess just a type of mindfulness and slowing down and being present to put yourself in the other person's shoes. I mean, for sure. I think you have to know them well enough, though, sometimes too. Although
it depends upon the situation.
Yeah, as an empath too, you can maybe use that to your advantage by trying to read their energy rather than not knowing them personally. It's easier if you know them personally, because you can be like, yeah, this isn't going to help. Your instinct is to say this to them, but you know it's not going to be helpful because it's going to set them off or whatever. That was kind of an interesting phenomenon I discovered literally just the other day that I was doing with somebody, and I was like, huh, that's kind of fascinating. But words also we were talking about the word grace, and like in general this topic has been coming up as far as words being important, like what words you attach to certain things, and how certain people will hear one word and it means something different. True. The same word will resonate differently with two different people, and so it may be like, to you, you're like, oh, that's lovely, or oh, that makes sense, but to the other person it's attached to some sort of trauma, or it was used as a weapon. And so that's where the compassion thing comes in again, because you can talk to each other. Communication, that's one of my words for the year. And see each other's side. So it's not just like me having grace for somebody else, or like the love as a force for social justice in terms of going one direction. It can go both directions. Yeah. If you can have an open conversation, and both people can have grace, and one person's not trying to like force the other person to think the way they think, because we all have different backgrounds and we all see things differently.
I think that, and you guys may be able to relate to this too. I think that when you're brought into, or when you're like the environment that you're just comfortable being around is so filled with people who do want things to be a certain way and who feel that if it's not this way, it's not right. When you get into environments like that, it becomes kind of your inside voice, and it's not. It's got to be done this way. Got to do it that way. Got to do it that way. So when you remove yourself from that environment, or you are presented with opportunities to kind of shut that voice off in a healthy way, when you're surrounded by people who allow you to be who you are, or when you are a person who is, surrounded by people who need to just, be who they are, and you don't try to like bend them to, this is the way to do it or otherwise, it really helps. When I'm teaching my art classes, I teach at the Renzi Center, and I teach some really young kids. They're really sweet. But I'm teaching like art basics, and one of my principles in teaching is, as opposed to trying to tell them like you have to draw a circle, it has to be exactly like this, like the anatomy and the shapes and stuff like that. One of the first things that I do is I bring my speaker in, I let them, tell me what type of music they like. They choose the music. I'm like, you listen to the music and you draw what you feel, you do what you feel, and there's no judgment here. There's no judgment. Whatever you want to draw, if you like drawing cats, you draw cats. If you just want to scribble, you scribble away, and you pick these colors and you do your thing, and I'm going to be there to support you if you have anything that, you have questions on. And I think that when we allow, especially like from a really young age, people to like really explore who they are and explore what they need and what they like and don't like, it gives permission for other folks to do the same. So when you extend grace, you're cultivating it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because those little kids will go on to, may go on to do the same thing to somebody else, and because it was shown that was a.
Oh man, it's incredible. It's like I wish I could do like a case study on this, but like some of the kids are like hardwired to believe that they don't have an ounce of creativity or a bit of artistic skill. And as a teacher, my job is not to validate or invalidate them, but rather to give them the tools to validate themselves. So when you have a kid in class who like is refusing, like I don't want to try at all, this person hasn't been given the grace or the opportunities to be artistic. And in real life, in like day-to-day grown-up situations, sometimes we don't have the toolkits to do or have certain conversations or be around certain types of people or certain energies. And it's important to, at the very least, like I look at myself as a teacher in most instances, or at the very least, I know that I don't want to be treated in a way that I can't extend the grace. Like even like some people are like, don't do that to me. I don't want your kindness. And even still, it's like, okay, that's fine. But with these kids, it's like even the kids that don't feel like they have that ability, after like a few classes and me just like letting the other kids do their thing, then they start to kind of like, they start to want to do it, and they're like, don't look at my paper, but let me do this. And then they like come to me after class and they're like, look at what I did. And I'm like, good job. Like, I'm proud of you. You made art. And they're like, I did what now? Like, you made art.
Yeah, well, I guess it goes to show that because we have, again, these rules for everything. And so somebody must have told them what art was and what art wasn't.
Or like, hey, you didn't color inside the lines. Or like, Spider-Man isn't, purple. Why'd you color in Spider-Man purple? He's blue and red. It's like, bro, this is my Spider-Man. This is my 3-year-old hand-colored Spider-Man, and I'm proud of him.
Right.
And as opposed to, like, giving those limiting, like, beliefs or otherwise, you can just be like, yeah, good job.
Yeah,
good effort. Proud of you.
when I volunteered in Iona in 2012, part of the time that I was there, I got to kind of guard the art room because it was winter and nobody was really there but me. So I was hanging out in the art room a lot. But when we had some older guests, they would come in, and these were people like, you know, they're 60s, 70s plus, who at that age didn't think that they could do art because somebody told them something like that when they were young.
So
and I remember being like, well,
that breaks my heart.
Why do you think that? And then, you know, I'd have them do some sort of project and they would just sit there and have a good time. And I said, and that's really all that matters.
Yes, it's just the process.
I think we get into this may be a tangent, but I feel like we get into this weird professionalizing everything nowadays.
Oh, monetizing. Everything has to have a dollar value on it.
Or you have to be a professional at something in order to do it at all.
Oh, gosh, yes.
You know, like cooking or like all the, you know, cooking or art or music or
anything.
Any of these things that, you know, honestly, I would think back in the day, participating in all of these things made a person just a well-rounded, desirable person, or a well-rounded person. I'd say desirable is weird to say, I guess, but you know what I mean? Like either an accomplished person, but definitely it was just like a part of the everyday thing, you know? And it wasn't something that somebody was going to make money at or have it be their job, but it was relieving stress, or it was just part of the day. Yeah. Like needlepoint.
You know, and to kind of like follow into this tangent a little bit more, and we can kind of come right back around. I had an experience when I was in high school I was very introverted. I would much rather, like, I enjoyed going to school, I enjoyed going out, but I really enjoyed nothing more than being at home and playing my video games. And you know, like, at the time I had a guinea pig, I would play my video games and, like, let my guinea pig, like, sit in my sofa, or, like, right next to me with, like, their little treats and stuff. And I'd play my video game and be like, yeah, you look cozy. Back to the video game. So I got invited to go to it was like a movie night at a friend's house. Okay. And I was there, and I'm just, like, happy to be there. Like, yeah, this is great. I'm outside of my house. And, you know, like, we were getting ready to watch the movie, and there were, like, 4 of us. But it struck me as particularly odd that, like, everything was, like, overdone to me. Okay. It's like this person, like, the parents had tried, like, massively hard. Like, there was, like, 4 options of, like, candies and, like, 2 different types of popcorns. And, like, different, like, drinks. There was, like, tea and soda and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I thought we were just watching a movie. Like, they gave us, like, the full movie theater experience. Oh, wow. And I was appreciative of it. But I also was, like, super sad because I started to wonder, like, as we left, like, on my way home, like, if all of this was because of, like, a fear that it had to be perfect. Oh. You know what I mean? That's possible. Or they just like entertaining. Yeah, I mean, that too. But yeah, you're right. I mean, look at me. I'm talking about, like, having my guinea pig with all, like, stacks of vegetables, and here I am, like, feeling like it's odd that they have stacks of food and snacks. But everything doesn't have to be perfect, is, I suppose, what I'm getting at. And as a person who just is, like, cool with whatever it is. I just had a memory of my best friend and I hanging out in her basement and rifling through her little freezer for, like, pizza rolls and, like, chicken nuggets and just, you know, eating whatever we could find. That was me and my bestie. And watching HBO, because I didn't have HBO in my house. So we used to watch The Princess Bride back in the day on the HBO. That I didn't have on her couch. I love this vision of you just, like, laid out, like, chilling, watching Princess.
Oh yeah, I
Bride.
spent many an hour
It's very
in
cute.
that basement. That was a good time.
Very cute. Okay, back to Grace.
Yes, Grace.
Is Grace
not by force. It's by grace, not by force.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about like the almost like the energy, like the feminine versus like the masculine in this topic, and it was super interesting.
Yeah, so we were talking about how we like to, we think of masculine energy as being more aggressive than the feminine energy.
Which this here, push that there.
Yeah, it's more physical. Fair. There's the idea of more like upper body strength or like getting it done, which I mean I have certainly dropped into that energy when I've had to, whereas the feminine energy is usually more soft and
it'll get done when it's ready, or
gentle,
like
or compassionate.
Now I'm thinking of my dad, like you need to be more willing to receive help, but like really like the feminine is about receiving. So as opposed to like, let me go out and get it done myself, it's more like what do I have available to help me right now?
Right.
Like what resources do I have that I can receive the help that I need to get this thing done, whatever it may be.
That
like
brings
my car. My tire. Situation.
Do you want to share?
Yeah. So I had an interview, and right after the interview, well, before I went to the interview, I noticed that my rear tire was like super low, and I was like, okay, can't think about that right now. I need to go home and do my makeup. I need to go do this, and I need to, go and do the next thing. And I left the interview, and a friend of mine, like, he's a big dude, and he's so sweet, and he's just, like, the most encouraging person ever. He's always like, what you got going on? What projects you working on? That's cool. He's like, I'll see you around. Good job. And it's always just, like, a serious pick-me-up. And I was telling him, like, as I was about to leave, like, I'm, like, 1 foot out the door, like, I'm about to go do this thing. And he's like, I was telling him, like, my tire was low. And he's like, do you need help? And immediately in my brain, like, my masculine is like, I got this. I don't need no help. And I have this thing in my car. You plug it into the little thing and, you pump your air into it.
That's cool.
And he offered me the help. And I'm just like, all of this is happening in my brain. I'm like, I have the thing in my car. I can do this on my own. I don't know how long this is going to take. And, like, in, like, a split second, I was like, nope, I got it. And then I was like, wait a minute. I really don't feel like it. And he's offering.
Right.
And he probably can do it better. He probably has the tools that I don't have. Like, his pump is probably better than mine, right?
It's the tools that I don't have at this moment.
Yeah, and he's willing to help me. And he's a good person. I was like, okay, cool. And he was, in him doing this for me, he's like, you know that your thing is, the little meter for the air pressure? He's like, it's supposed to be at 4 point something. And I was like, oh, so I've been underfilling my tire.
So you learned
all of that by I learned something from it. I received help in much more time than, than I could have done it.
And going forward, now you will fill your tires to the right pressure.
Yeah, and he genuinely was like, it was like no big deal to him, but I'm doing all of this thinking to try to make it happen myself, and he was just like, no big deal, go have a good day. And I was like, I shall have a good day.
I guess that's another form of grace, is accepting help. Accepting help from somebody who had the tools that you didn't have. And he was in that moment. Yeah. Which I think we all could take a lesson from, because I do a similar thing. I think sometimes I don't want to feel like I owe people. Yeah. When I accept or ask for help or accept help, but I've been much better at taking help when it's offered, and it always seems to come in a moment. Receiving help. I mean, I have a hard time asking for help too, and I've gotten better at that. But it's also learning who to ask for help. But receiving help when it's offered, I've been much better at doing also, because we can't do everything. And people, if they're offering to help you, they usually mean it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I think that one of the things that we read about grace, as far as like the textbook definition, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it just called to mind the idea of, golly, I just lost my train of thought.
Definition of grace.
It's more so along the lines of like, as far as like the receiving end of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. The grace of understanding that you can't do everything on your own. Like, that's a sort of grace in itself, is realizing that I do not have the capability of doing every single thing on my own. Whether it be like managing a large project or running a business like Leanne and I do, or, you know, having conversations like this, or even just like the day-to-day stuff. Like, if you have kids especially, like, you know that it is a system, like, of people, of good people, and you also know that you can't learn everything from everyone. So, like, my, what I'm trying to say here, like, my dad is like a whiz. Like, he's like a whiz with like strategy and money, and like the funniest person I know. So I know that if I need a pick me up, like if I'm having a crappy day and I just need somebody to like talk to, my dad's gonna help me. If I have like, hey, I wonder if I should move my money like this, my dad is the person I talk to. But I can't like talk to my dad about like lady issues. Just like being real, I can't talk to my dad about lady issues. And to like kind of bring that back down, my sister is 13. She's so goofy and she's so creative. I can't talk to my sister about the same things I talk to my dad about, but I can totally have a good time and have fun and go skating with my sister. I can't do that with my dad. Yeah. I have business friends, Leanne. Like, I can talk to Leanne about like the best things to do when I'm not feeling well, whether it be in my body or in my head. Like, you're a grounding person to me. But I can't do that with other people who don't have the experience, the know-how, the education, or even like the basic research skills to help me in those instances. So you have to be really, really mindful of who you're asking for what type of help. Because once again, it goes back to the topic of like letting people be who they are. Like, oh yeah, I did a painting once. This is a tangent, sorry guys. Did a painting once for this woman, and she wanted all this detail and all this stuff. And when we talked, we met in my studio space, so like wall to wall, my art, like all the examples of what I could do and all that. And I was like, "Are you sure that this is?" You know, because what she was saying seemed like a little bit like that's not what she wanted. Like my style wasn't what she wanted, but she kept insisting that, yeah, your style is what I want. It's like, okay, cool. So I paint the painting, and she's like, I thought it would have more
detail.
Yeah, I thought it would be more painterly. I thought it would be like one of those like hyper realistic, you can see all the pores types of paintings. And I was like, what? Like, what? Like, I wanted to be sure that she was making an informed decision. All I can do is inform. Yeah. So, like, I was like, okay, well, I can refer you to a person who has that ability, right? Who can paint those, but it's not going to be anything near what I charged you for this painting. Right. And she's like, well, can you paint it the way that I want? And I was like, that's not my art style. And even if it was my art style, something like that takes
a long time.
A large amount of time and study. And you want me to study, master, and create this painting for you in like a week? Why? Why? That's not fair to me and my skill set, and it's also not fair to her. Right. Because she's wasted her well, not wasted, I mean, she still took the painting, but I feel like there was just some sort of like going into it with the intention to change me and change my style and change my what I had to offer.
Yeah. Yes, and I think I had a similar experience recently with a person who had it in their head that they had wanted to do something a certain way, and even though they were asking for input and help, and there was already something in place that existed already to facilitate the problem, and it was passed on to them to use said piece of marketing, actually, in this particular sense. They just went and did what they wanted to do from the beginning. Which,
I mean, that's totally fine.
I was totally
it's
fine.
Good and well.
I had to have enough grace in that situation to be like, okay, it is what it is. As Kalandra always says.
It is what it is.
And in that case,
maybe
that was a big lesson in not, having my blood pressure go through the wall because they wanted to do it that way.
Yeah, you were asked to provide help on something that you are an expert at, mm-hmm. and to be like told, or not even told, but be like, yeah, sure, we'll do that, and then the opposite happen is like. That's definitely a situation that requires a lot of grace.
Yeah, but, whatever. It wasn't... That is one thing you learn in advertising school, actually, too, is that, your draft of something is not necessarily going to be the final draft of it. True. It's basically up to the client. True. And it takes a lot of grace to just be like, okay, all right, cool, that's fine. I'll just save this for my portfolio.
Right. I think... This is such an interesting topic because, grace has, a lot of definitions.
It really does.
Do you still have that pulled up?
Yes. So it has, a synonym would be elegance. So, mm-hmm. Something has simple elegance or refinement of movement. Think of that as,
craftsmanship.
Like a ballet dancer.
Oh, yeah.
But it also can mean courteous goodwill. So the synonym is courtesy. Have the grace to do something. Yeah. It can be a verb. To do honor or credit to someone or something by one's presence. To grace someone with your presence. And that could be sort of hoity-toity, I guess, huh? Right? If somebody thinks a lot of themselves.
Oh, yeah. I think of it as the teacher. I feel like I don't really... I'm starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, this is the way that you do it, and as opposed to saying this is how I do it. I'm just we're gonna take this, right, and it's a square, right? It's somewhat of a square. You have your two circles here, and you do it like this. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to teaching them you have got to use this type of brush to paint this here in the center. Mm-hmm. I'm teaching them how to take things that they see in everyday life and kind of fragment them so that they can easier do it, but gracing them with my presence would kind of just be me being wholeheartedly interested in them exploring themselves through art, as opposed to me gracing them with my presence and being there. You're lucky that you have a teacher here to teach you little 7-year-old kid.
I was going to say that, actually, because I was going to say, but some people literally do grace us with their presence, right? Oh my God, I've been watching all these documentaries about Betty White since she passed, and I loved her before. But somebody like her, she kind of reminds me of my grandma, so I've always had an affinity for Betty White because she looked like my grandma. But she literally does, and she didn't think she was, but she would grace people and animals with her presence because she was a lovely energy to be in the presence of. So it's definitely a thing. And we can only hope to be that kind of presence, right?
We do have people in the community here that are like that too. Mm-hmm. You just walk into a room, it's hey, who's that person?
And I feel like that's something to aspire to. Mm-hmm. And not be arrogant about it, because obviously if you are that presence, you don't usually think of yourself as that kind of thing. But I think we should all aspire to be like a Betty White, where everybody just has nothing but good things to say about you, but you also own your talent. And she did so many things for back. She I think she said she started in the business when she was in 1949, when television was like just starting out. And I mean,
holy guacamole.
She was one of the first female producers back in the time when that was not a thing. And it was like somehow she moved fluidly through all of these barriers and walls that some women, come up against. And it was her,
You're gonna have
her
to watch
light.
this documentary, because I feel bad to say it, but I'm so, well, no, pop culture isn't really my thing.
Oh, it's totally my thing.
No, it's not, but it's starting to become, because I'm so intrigued by people like Betty White.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to
television.
watch.
I worked at a television magazine for 11 years, and I was obsessed with TV as a kid, so I know a lot about old school TV anyway. Not up on the TV now. I don't really watch TV.
Talk about video games then.
Yeah. But even my grandma, my sister used to always say that if grandma was invited to something, we wouldn't have to worry about it raining, because the sun always shone when grandma was there.
Oh my goodness.
She did. My sister used to always say that. And I really want to say that's true, because I don't remember it. I don't remember it ever raining when grandma was around, because she was incredible. But,
wow. That is so sweet.
That's what my sister used to say about my grandma. So,
dude, that put tears in my eyes. That's so sweet.
But it's true. My grandma was like this little ray of light. So she definitely graced us all with her presence while she was here for 93 years.
Goodness
just like Betty White, in a different way, but similar. But yeah, and Betty White, God, she just, she loved animals and she used her celebrity in good ways, so, the love is a force for social justice, right? She was a loving public persona who used that to help other people, even just by, kind of go back to what we were talking about in the beginning, kind of like the straight up definition I look at it as, it's by grace, not by force, of leading or living by example. So me coming around and shouting at you to think a certain way, or to do something, or to whatever it is, like, calm down, or eat more greens, or I don't even know, whatever it is. Me getting on a soapbox or shouting, this is my feeling, is rarely effective.
No.
If you shout at somebody to do something.
That is, what is the word? I don't think induce is the right word that I want to use. It's
forceful.
It promotes shame.
Yeah.
It promotes shame and a distrust of self. So you have this person drilling into you something, anything, doesn't matter what. Mm-hmm. You eat the broccoli. Little kid, you eat that broccoli, it's good for you, it's on your plate, eat it. It's like, dude, I really don't want to eat the broccoli now.
Right. Or at least tell them why. You're going to
like, hey, taste this.
You may want to do, whatever.
Taste this.
But that's
you're going to like it.
Being forceful. It's trying to get somebody to do something by force, which I don't know how often that's effective, in that you may get your way, but that person may end up being afraid of you.
Yeah.
Or have like a trauma attached to whatever the thing is you're asking them to do. Like the kid may never eat broccoli as an adult because they're terrified of broccoli. Whatever it is. But if
issues.
Yeah, but if you lead or live by example, just by being yourself and, just sharing, like, we have our Bloom Sister Circle. So just by sharing our experiences, or, I used to write a blog. I still do, but I'm not as proficient. That's probably not the word I'm looking for. But I'm not as consistent with it anymore. But sharing my life and my lifestyle choices, and just being, hopefully being kind to people, through volunteering or whatever it is we choose to do, teaching kids. It shows...
I love my kids.
Folks can make up their own minds. Number one, you're not going to really make people
want to do
things
that may be healthier for them, or maybe, just, something that they could potentially benefit from. Tangent here. I learned how to swim for the first time. Well, obviously I learned how to swim, but I taught myself how to swim last summer, and it's like the second I did that, and I'm like literally like trying to listen to my body and learn the best like ways of like holding my breath and trying to like learn how to like swim under the water and things like that. It's like as soon as I started to do that, everyone's like, oh, let's roughhouse in the pool. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And they're like, well, let me teach you. And I'm like, you're scaring me as a person that literally just learned and has a fear of that.
Oh.
And it's like, dude, give me a second. I don't know my body well enough yet to be playing in the pool, you know? And I don't think that I have the response necessary yet. So, like, my sister, who can swim, it's just like, you know, I can swim, so... And she's like, you know, you're so boring. And it's like, now I really don't want to swim with you guys because... you know, you get that negative feedback because you're not playing into the thing that they want you to play into. It really has the opposite effect.
Oh, yeah.
It has the opposite effect. Like, I don't want to swim or anything.
God, that just had a slight tangent, I suppose, but that just reminded me of a whole, like, I hate using the word toxic, but, like, it's a sad thing to me when somebody makes healthy changes in their life. Or, like, whatever, and, because other people don't understand it, or, I don't know, it makes them feel badly about themselves, or whatever. They like tease or belittle.
It's like people who are like, oh, you don't drink, why not?
Or that you're boring because you're not.
Yeah, you don't drink, you're so bored. You can't have a good time? Huh?
That's sad.
You can't have a good time. Isn't it silly?
I think it's sad.
I think that... And I guess this is like my last thought on this topic. I am so inspired by and like, I don't know, like awed by the idea and the fact that in this world there are billions of people with billions of personality combinations, interests, hobbies, life experiences, careers, goals, family lives. You know, there are millions of possibilities of being a human being, and there's no one right way to do it. Yeah. There's no one right way to do it. And I think that the ultimate form of grace is having that awareness and also being okay with that. Yeah. Like, your way is not the only way. Right. I find comfort in that because there's so many people. There's so many people. There's so many opportunities out there for connection and for love and growth and development and collaboration. And I think it's beautiful. But that is the most graceful thing that I can think of is, like, that thought. And truly embracing it. Like, of all the people I could have been, of all the things I could have done, of all of this and all of that, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, here I am. And this is me. Yeah, and that goes for, like, relationships, too. You get these two unique people together, and you have the opportunity to create something unique in that relationship. And I don't think we do that very well. What? Oh, you mean, like, our relationship, it's not standards, but programming in society. Ooh, that's a topic for another day. That's another grace and force, I suppose. We get the opportunity. We can talk about that one for like 3, 4, 5 days straight. We get the opportunity to create something unique and beautiful unto those two people. BLOOMBOX, the sleepover edition, because we have to talk about this through the night to get all of it in one video. Yeah. That is a lot. Yes. I've been thinking about that a lot too, but maybe we'll talk about it in the future. We should add it to our topic list. We can add it to the topic list. We do have another sister circle coming up at the end of February, but we should be coming on here
at least one more time before that.
Yeah.
But as it stands, our topic actually may be similar to what we've been talking about today. Having, compassion and empathy in difficult situations.
See, the thing I love about Sister Circle is that not only are we having these conversations and, sharing, like, experiences and kind of weighing in. It's like, I forget the name of this guy, but there was, like, a scientist, and he was, like, the only person at the time, like, the scientific community was, like, extremely strict, and it's like, this is the way it is. Yeah. And the dude was like, no, not really. And he was like, hey, I'm going to invite all these people, and we're going to have a conversation about this one topic, and everybody's going to say what they think about it, and everybody else is going to be like, interesting. Yeah. And the next person is going to share their thoughts on it, and there's no judgment. Oh, and that's very similar to what we do at Circle, but we also have resources, and we have prompts, and it's more so about what is the word, like self-reflection or like inner something.
No, self-reflection I think is a good word. It's funny, it's like when I was in art school, I remember I went to school for advertising design, just as a little background to the story. So we were given a topic to do an ad on, and I remember I can't remember obviously what the specific ones. I did lots of them, but I remember thinking once how, okay, so the first topic that came to mind, or the first idea that I had, to me, seemed like the most obvious solution to the problem, but I still went ahead and, did my layout and did my ad, and then came in the next day for our critique, or we'd stick them all up on the wall.
Okay.
And I remember being fascinated by the thought that I was convinced somebody else was going to have done what I did, basically. It was because I thought it was the most obvious solution to whatever the question was. And not one person had the same thing as me.
That's fascinating.
Out of
folks were there?
Our classes weren't huge, but let's say there was 12 to 15 of us.
That's still incredible.
And each one of us had a different take on this particular thing, and it was really fun to see everybody else's point of view and perspective. And I mean, at this point, I'm 19, 20 years old, so you haven't lived life yet as much as some of the older folks in
limited experience.
Exactly. So as you get older and as you
excuse me for sniffling,
as you go through life and as you have conversations with different people, and you get more used to the fact that, other people have different perspectives than I do, because we've all lived different lives and, maybe different parts of the country or different parts of the world. It's really fascinating to see how different everybody's mind works, even if it's on a similar topic. And I mean, that can be destructive or constructive, depending on what the situation is. But
well, I mean, look at the topic today. Like, when we were discussing it earlier, I was like, you were like, I'm so excited about this. And I was like, I don't know. I was like really, really hesitant. And now, like, that we have had the conversation, like, I'm starting to be able to relate to it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's a simple topic, but it's not. It's complex too. Yeah, the idea of it is simple, but it's not easy. It's one of those, it's simple but not easy scenarios.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're
are we done?
Getting a little long. We're at 48, almost 49 minutes this time.
Well,
do you have anything else to say about this topic?
I don't have anything else to say about this topic, but I would like to say, if you have any questions, comments, or you just you want to share your own thoughts on it, because it's complicated. It can be.
Keep going on tangents and then maybe change your mind about it through the conversation a little bit, which is interesting, because I do that sometimes.
So, if you have anything for us, just comment below. Comment, follow us, share it. We should have told you guys to do that beforehand, but it is what it is.
I'll put I didn't do this last time, but I can put our Instagram, and our websites and stuff in the description box.
As well as Facebook, like the Bloom Sister Circle.
Yes.
Are we doing that?
I don't think we're going to make the we have a Facebook group for the members of Bloom. So
Yeah.
if you are a member of Bloom,
then join us.
please
on Facebook.
join us.
And also, if you have any other topics that you would like for us to discuss, let us know too.
Yeah.
We are creating a list of topics that we just find interesting. But, this isn't just for us, it's for you guys too. So, let us know if you have anything.
We could also, we could talk about making like a public Facebook group for a Facebook page for it, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Let's talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it. If anything, you can come here and see our videos or follow us on our individual pages because we will be sharing these on our individual pages.
Yes.
So, yes, that is us. We are I'll say it again, we are at the Andress Artist and Entrepreneur Center in downtown Shreveport. It's 717 Crockett Street. We are actually open on Saturdays from 12 to 4. All the artists on the main floor, the artist floor, where there's a gallery and lots of cool stuff is in the works.
Beautiful.
So please
unlike anything you've
follow
ever
that.
seen.
We'll put that in the description too. You can follow the Andress on Instagram and Facebook. And
there are other artists and makers here too, so for sure. But
that's about it.
Yeah.
So until next time, grow through what you go through.
For sure. For sure.
Bye.
Bye.